Hi, guys. So, does your soul have an ancient calling for connection in the year 2020? Cool, my friend Tawny can help you. She's a yoga teacher in San Luis Obispo, California, who has women's gatherings and doula offerings and blessing ways as females transition from the role of being child free to the role of mother, and she offers incredible retreats around the world. So, if that sounds like something you'd be at all interested, you're gonna love this episode. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to my friend Tawny. Hello. So I have incredible news for parents and caregivers in San Luis Obispo County that are looking for spots to place their 6-week olds to 5.5-year-olds. I know we're in dire need of childcare in San Luis Obispo, and we have a new place open on Johnson Avenue. It's Hand in Hand Preschool and Infant Care Center, and my friend Ella is the director, and I literally can't recommend them highly enough. So if you are looking for a place for your baby or babies, or have a neighbor or a friend or nephew or niece or something, Google them. Hand in Hand Preschool, SLO, and their Facebook and Yelp page will pop up. And if you go see Miss Ella, tell her that Claire sent you. Thanks, guys.
Okay, hi Tawny, how's it going?
Super great. Hi, Claire.
Hey, thank you so much for agreeing to be on my podcast. I wanted to briefly explain how you came into my life, and it was some longtime friends of mine, Natalie and Robin, invited me to one of your women's circles, and I just had an amazing time at your women's circle, and I randomly signed up for one of your retreats to Big Sur, which is very unlike me, but it was another amazing experience. And I've really, really enjoyed getting your newsletter since then, and I want to invite you to talk about the women's circle that I participated in.
I am happy to talk about circling and retreating and anything and everything.
Thank you. So how did that come about? Were people clamoring, oh, we need to get together outside yoga, we need to do something, or did you just create this and invite people to it?
Good question. So the way that it formed for me, these circles that I've been doing for almost 15 years now, is that when I was pregnant with my daughter, my midwife invited me to a women's circle, and I just had this like ancient knowing and feeling like this was so right. And maybe because it was my midwife and I was feeling very vulnerable and connected to her, which felt good to be in circle with a woman I was going to experience a very profound day with and a very profound moment in my life. And then it just kind of opened up in my heart, or just the idea percolated about circling and how wonderful it felt. And so it was more an inner experience that I had that was like, oh, I want to recreate this. So I kind of just courageously was like, hey, ladies, want a circle? And I think because I had been teaching yoga here in San Luis Obispo for a while at that point, I had enough women friends around me that I think were open to doing some kind of circling that was mind, body, spirit focused. And I just kind of put it out there. I didn't really think twice about it. And in the beginning, it took a little while to build. I remember the first circle, there was just 3 women, which was super fun and fine. And then it just kind of slowly grew. The largest circle being like 25 women here in SLO. So seems like it was filling a niche for other people as well, and it felt right. So that's how it started.
Yeah, I was really excited. There was some neat surprises when I got there. So it started with you smiling and being warm and welcoming outside the door, and having was it sage?
Yeah, the sage stick.
You were cleansing our auras and healing us before we even got inside to your area. And then you had, fair trade drinks and fresh snacks from your garden. And we walked in and we got to journal about what was on our hearts. And then we got to use the sacred talking stick to pass from sister to sister. And then I remember in one circle we had spoken our worries into a stone and handed it to another sister to throw into the ocean for us. I just felt like, oh my gosh, I have never experienced anything like it, and I love, love, love being here for the 60 minutes of sacred time.
Right.
And yeah, so do you want to tell me about your education and career journey? Did you as a little girl say, I want to be a doula and a women's circle leader and a yogi, or did you go to school for something else?
Definitely didn't say any of those things. Yeah, I went to school here at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California for nutrition, and had started more of like a healing path. I played competitive soccer and hurt my back after 15 years of playing soccer. And so got into physical therapy and yoga, and then just really curious about yoga and curious about healing our bodies and learning about all that this miraculous body is, and kind of digging into meditation and nutrition. And so it kind of got me on the path was science and nutrition, and yoga just kind of took off in my life when I met my husband, my now husband, who's also a yoga teacher, and we opened up a yoga studio and just kind of unfolded. And I was teaching a lot of prenatal yoga at the yoga studio. And so I was getting from some of my students like, oh, you'd be a really great doula. And so I didn't even know what that was. For the birth I had for my daughter, I didn't have a doula. I had midwives and we had a home birth. So I was familiar with supporting, the birth process, but I didn't know what a doula was. So I looked into it, Googled it, and then was like, yeah, supporting women. I love it. And it just has felt really right and true to my heart. And I think something that we all as women innately feel, like wanting that village and wanting that support. And, becoming a doula has been really soul fulfilling to help women through, a transitional spot that, maybe our culture isn't honoring enough. So just to be part of that change of like helping moms thrive and helping women thrive. And so it's all been a very organically unfolding path.
I was going to say that in America, doulas aren't like recognized by insurance, and they're not paid for with the flex spending accounts. And I feel so lucky to have it on my radar. I somehow, I don't know if it was on Facebook, someone told me I went to a hypnotherapy class and then I got a doula. And I just think that, there's a lot of traumatic stories being talked about. And so you kind of have this fear going into the hospital or as your case in home, and just the energy of the doula is so holistic. So my doula had the aromatherapy, the music, the lighting, and I had a natural birth in the hospital. And I was like, so thankful for my doula.
Yay.
And if anyone is looking for a doula, I'd highly, highly recommend you, if you're not going to do a home birth, add it to the hospital plan, and it will elevate your experience.
I actually probably just want to put that out there for your listeners. I probably get hired more for hospital births than home births, because I think there's a lot of moms that want to have that natural birth like you, but in the hospital setting, maybe insurance is paying for the hospital birth. So they're kind of feeling like that's the way they want to go, but they do want as natural as possible. So it helps to hire a doula to be there during the hospital stay to give them that continuity of care and presence in that kind of sisterly or motherly supportive way that maybe the nurses, they might not know, or haven't opened up to. So just, bringing that into the hospital is actually probably most of what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're trying to be supportive, encouraging, but they're running in and out, taking care of other people, and you're just literally the constant presence through the whole thing. So you had spoken about how you and Peter opened a yoga studio, and I was wondering if our podcast topic is kindness. Is it difficult always being kind to someone when you're living with them and working side by side, or do you guys just click easily.
Well, I do think we click pretty easily, but of course there's challenges and bumps and triggers and reactions that happen and, naturally. So yeah, I think we made a good team for those 8 years and complemented each other, which was probably helped the kindness factor. But yeah, we hit up challenges, and we both have studied nonviolent communication, and I'm thinking there's probably mindfulness. We took some mindfulness parenting classes together. I took some just plain mindfulness classes. So I think when we do bump up against each other, being in such close proximity or challenged in any way, whether that be, in our personal or business, I think we have enough skill to talk it through. Like we might get reactionary or freak out or, and have those moments of temporary kind of chaos, but eventually after some breaths okay, well, we obviously need to talk about this. I think we can come to resolution together eventually and hear each other's side of the story and, practice our tools that we've, looked at and used. So overall, we're still kind to each other after we've been married 12 years now. So.
Oh yeah, and you're good travel buddies too. You guys are good trotters.
Yes, we're both working out of our house, so now we're even, quite together quite a bit. And yeah, we travel a lot. We've traveled 6 months after we sold the yoga studio when we were with our daughter, and for 6 months in close quarters, and yeah, there's triggers, but I so value kindness, and he knows that, and Athena knows that, my daughter. And so it's like the preface of anything, like, okay, well, you said that. Was that kind? Did you need to say that? So we challenge each other to be kinder humans and to each other in all things. So I think that helps.
I've personally been the recipient of your family's kindness. When I had my baby girl, I hadn't hired you as a postpartum doula, but you stepped in and sent me a beautiful, beautiful care package, and Athena dropped in this gorgeous fairy dress for my older daughter, and you had all these essential oils and books, and you wrote these letters to me, and I was just like, my mouth was open when I got it. I was like, oh my gosh, Tawny, this is like so unexpected and so appreciated. I
had forgotten about that. I'm so glad you brought that up. I remember sending that and feeling like, you know what, all mamas, all people need bundles of love, and maybe particularly after you've just had a little one, and it's all disorganizing for the self. And so I'm glad I could give you a little extra love. I think I wanted to come up and help, but I couldn't. So I was like, here's a package of goodies.
You did help, and every time I open her closet and I look at that green velvet dress with the pink roses, I smile and I think of you guys. Speaking of, do you have any special mother-daughter rituals or family rituals with your girl?
Well, we are a family who likes to just honor the seasons. I keep it pretty simple. So I do a little bit of an altar for each season, and then talk about the season, like, in fall, what we're letting go of, or is there something you'd like to let go of, or something you want to grow in the spring. And so we do a little bit around that seasonal stuff, equinox and the solstices, just pausing to honor what is happening around us in nature, and, observing the nature that's around us. But we often do a little blessing before our meal. So we just say thank you to have this food. And then maybe we'll go around the table at mealtime and say what was our favorite part of the day, what was a hard part of the day, just to share from our hearts. And then always around Thanksgiving, we do some kind of gratitude practice around, going around and saying all that we're grateful for. And another thing we do as a family, we've done for the past couple years, is around New Year's, we do kind of a memory jar. So we write throughout the year, we write things that have happened in the year, good, bad, whatever, just little moments. Like we had a picnic with a friend up on a mountain. So we'll write that in a jar. And at the end of the year, we'll go through each little paper, whoever has contributed a little moment. And so we just kind of recap our year that way together, remembering and reminiscing on the year. And that's about all that we've kind of really created for the family, as rituals go.
And they're not that expensive. You're not a big consumer and you're not into consumerism. So when we do the women's circles, we take little rose petals from our garden and little sprigs of pine from our pine trees, and we throw them into the bath salt bowl and spread it around. It's like so doable and so sweet and precious.
Right. Nature provides, some really cool stuff that we can use, and it's free, and just getting creative. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you and your family went to India and other countries around the world that were not familiar to you. Did you experience any acts of kindness while you were over there, or getting ready for your trip? Or
well, one thing that when you said that came to mind was we were in Switzerland when Athena was really young for this one. I think she was like 6 months or so, and we were at an Indian restaurant, I believe, or there was an Indian family that was at the table next to us. And you know how it is eating at a nice restaurant with a baby in your lap. Like it all of a sudden turns very messy and very complicated to feed yourself. And they must have seen that I was either struggling or not enjoying my meal, or I don't know. But they were like, "Can we hold your baby?" And these were complete strangers, and we're really wanting to hold Athena. She does have bright red hair. Maybe that was kind of cool for them. But since going to India, I do know that a baby is just like a good luck, like full of joyness, right? Like babies are so innocent and pure. And I think they also really honor that time, like maybe even more than what I see here in America. So they just kind of genuinely wanted to be near that sweet energy. So they're like, "Can we hold your baby?" And I remember thinking for a second, like, who are these strangers offering to hold? Like kind of having a hesitancy, like, just from our culture, that would be a little strange if someone random came up to me here in California and said, "Can I hold your baby?" It'd be out of the blue. And then I remember I could sure use a couple moments to myself to eat my delicious meal. We were at a nice restaurant. And so I just looked at them, and they were just really sweet, kind people. And I just could feel that their hearts were in a kind place. And I was like, sure. So they took our daughter and they took her back to their table. And they passed her around the table of like 10 Indians that were just super sweet, and had her for like 20 minutes. And I got to eat my meal and hang out with my husband and our friends that we were visiting in Switzerland. And I just remember how kind that was and how nice. And I kept looking over to make sure they didn't take her or weren't doing anything. And they were just so happy and being so kind with her that it was a really, it was a moment that now, 10 years later, I think about still. That was really a sweet moment that was revealed to me.
So Tawny, who are your kindness role models growing up and now? I imagine that your mom was a nurturing person, and that's where you get it. Am I right?
Yeah, she was super loving mom. Still is. And yeah, she was a wonderful role model of giving to family and giving to others, and just an unconditional lover. I'd say my step grandmas too. I had two that were both really kind of magical women that were just positive people and fun to be with. And I think they inspired me to be that joyful presence too. And who else? I mean, Jane Goodall, I really dig. And I just love all the work that she does at caring for our planet. And yeah, different, random people, probably people that I've interacted with just so infrequently that have inspired something in me to be the best me, I suppose. I wouldn't say I have a huge role model other than just people around me, and, but not one particular person, probably everybody combined.
I was just reading with my daughter I think it was called like the Who Are They series, when the characters got the really big head on the cover, and it was Jane Goodall, and it was talking about when she was a little girl, she was in grade school, and she was such a big animal lover, so she made a club, and they were being kind to animals. And I was like, if you like being kind to animals or being kind, start a club and get your friends involved. It'll be fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's amazing. I would love to meet that lady. I haven't, but I got close. We were in New Zealand when she was in New Zealand touring, but she was on the other side of the island, and it was quite far, so I didn't get to make it. But I really admired her from afar as a woman who just seems to be able to follow her heart so fully and be honored and respected while doing that.
I totally see you as that for me, a kindness mentor and influencer.
Oh, I'm happy I can be that for anybody. That sounds lovely.
So I was curious, with being a mom and a wife and a business owner, you teach self-care. How good are you at self-care on a scale of 1 to 10? And is there anything that you find challenging, or do you find that you've hit a good place in your life with self-care?
I think it's challenging for me. Yeah, I think I get better and better. Let's see, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say, well, right now I'd say I'm doing pretty good. I'd say I'm at like an 8 or 9, but I think it goes up and down, I think with life, I can get sucked into work. I can get sucked into parenting and just being there for others and not being there for myself. And then I think I can kind of swing. So then I'll be like, okay, I'm just taking care of me. And then I feel a bit selfish, but I'll focus on me. And then to the point where then I'm like, okay, now I can focus on others. And then maybe I'll over focus on others and giving and then forget about me. So I would say it swings around, but I have committed to going on a retreat every year just for me, where I'm not teaching the retreat, because that's something I do too. Or I'm not teaching yoga at the retreat. It's just for me. And it can be that I'm camping by myself for 3 days, or it could be that I'm actually like attending someone else's retreat, or, I've done some yoga retreats by myself. I've taken an art retreat. I've just do something for me every year. And I've been doing that for about 4 years, getting away from the family and just kind of being with Tawny as a woman in the world, not as a mom, a wife, an employee, a business owner. So that part has been really soul fulfilling, to just do something for me. And then little ways, I get a massage fairly frequently. So that's another way I give to myself. Or just exercising is like such a great way to give to me. So I try to do that every day, at least a little bit every day.
So I feel like in our culture, when women are single, either they're single or they're freshly out of a breakup, they're like, I'm going to take care of me. And you're a good example that you don't have to go through a divorce to take care of yourself. You can actually carve out time, and it will be good for you and for your hubby and kids. So
I think that's important, right? Maybe it would prevent some divorces or some struggles, or, I think it's easy for women to lose track of taking care of themselves. And I thought about this recently as I just taught a Yoga for Women course, and I was talking about the female body, and I was like, just pause and look at our bodies for a second. They are designed to give birth. They are designed to give, maybe create life and give life to the world through a child, and or maybe give breast milk and give nourishment to someone. So our bodies are givers. And I think by default and DNA and programming, we just give as women. And I think we just can overgive. I think that's just part of our challenge on the planet is like, we're givers and lovers and, you know, give life and nourish life. And we're just going to do that. So like not beating ourselves up about it, but going, hey, that is who I am. I'm in this body and I'm giving. And not that men don't also have this, you know, problem, but it just had this aha for me in my body of like, yeah, I give life and I give nourishment and I can overdo it. And how can I also give to myself when I know that I like to give? I could give till I'm depleted. And I think a lot of women are in that boat of like giving, 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 and then, you know, then feeling like, wait, hold up. I've been giving everything away and I'm not giving to me. And maybe have to really redirect their life to, you know, give to themselves, but maybe it doesn't have to be that extreme. That was one of the reasons I like doing the circles. Each month is like at least once a month, give to yourself. I mean, I think our menstrual cycle of once a month is like a good way of reminding ourselves like, hey, right now you're tender. How can you give to yourself? Maybe while you're bleeding or, you know, on that time, at least once a month, you know, refilling your cup. And then in that way we give from, right, that fuller cup that we really can give better. So I like to think it's like, you know, a radical act of,
Yeah.
if you care for yourself. I think there's a quote someone said, it's like super radical. I like that thought of like self-care is super radical because it's going to trickle into the world. And that's what we ultimately, I think we all want, is to create a beautiful world, a loving world for ourselves and our kids and our grandkids. And, you know, truly it does start with you giving to yourself. So how do you give to yourself? And like asking that question to myself, like what really does fill me up? Because it might not be, you know, what others think would fill up. Like just all of us getting really honest and be like, well, what is it? What
Not
is it
eating a tub of ice cream to myself for
Yeah.
spending all my paycheck at Target on new dresses.
Yeah. Like, does that really ultimately like really fill you, you know, and just getting better as women and as humans of like really taking care of ourselves so that we really can take care of other things too.
When I have a circle coming up, I put it on my calendar with happy faces and rainbows and stars. And then I tell my parents, I'm off to see Tawny in the women's circle. And my dad goes, my dad's almost 70. He goes, you go, girl.
You go, girl. Oh, I love when other people support you, supporting yourself. That's really.
And then my mom says, Cleo, I am so, so, so proud of you, honey. Like, oh, that was a great $15 investment that I'm so lifted up over this little chunk of my day and this little chunk of my wallet, and it's so enriching. I wanted to just ask you one more question. I saw on your website that you wrote about a special ritual / ceremony for postpartum, but you did yours not right after your baby was born. It was years after. Do you want to speak to that?
The closing the bones ceremony?
Yeah, I had never heard of that. Can you talk to us about that?
Oh, I'd love to get it out there to anyone who's listening, because it's a really special ceremony that felt like it gave me a lot of closure. And I might be a ceremonialist, if that is a word. Like I do want to like honor the moment and have something in my body and, you know, maybe in matter in front of me that kind of honors something that we've gone through. So it comes from more like Central America, South America, to my knowledge. But I think a lot of different cultures do something similar. But it's basically a ceremony in which I like to remind people there's no way to do right or wrong. It's like what feels right for you. But it's honoring that you've become a mother. So I've also heard it maybe called mothering the mother, warming the bones. So often we are remembering how to celebrate the new baby in our world and forgetting or, you know, not acknowledging that the mother just went through such a huge transition as well, whether that be her first child or her second child or third. So it's a ceremony that honors that you were just reborn to as a mother. And really just kind of pauses time to be like, let's acknowledge that that happened. Instead of like, you become a mother so quickly, and then it's like moving on, like, okay, now figure out how to take care of this baby, take care of the family, be a mom in the world. And so what was handed down to me was this kind of a wrapping. So you take a bath, or that's the warming of the bones, which is very therapeutic postpartum, because in Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, when you give birth, it's like a cold time. You got a lot of release of heat with that. And so you're sensitive, you're in a kind of a fragile state, not that dissimilar than, menstruation, where we're just, pausing on the couch, warming ourselves, warm, cozy socks and tea is just a really therapeutic time for someone who's postpartum. So ideally you take a bath, flowers, candles, maybe you have a friend there to talk about the birth and just kind of process what you just went through, any joy, any trauma, any grief, anything, everything that was that actual birth, and honor what happened. And then after that, you lay down in a cozy bed, and someone is there supporting you through this, whether that be a postpartum doula or someone else who knows this type of ritual, or you just create it. And they wrap you kind of like a cocoon in different rebozos or scarves. So it kind of goes through the body, through the head first, and then down the body. And it's kind of this hug that feels cozy, like a little bit of a pressure. Could be a massage that you get, but it's almost like you're going through the birth canal as a woman. So it starts at the head and it kind of goes through, so that your body actually feels this squeeze, kind of like you're actually being reborn. And then this release of pressure that opens you into this moment where you find yourself as a woman, hopefully surrounded by others that love you and are saying, welcome, welcome. You are now a mom, and honoring however that birth went, however the pregnancy went, and just being like, now you are her, and really claiming that and owning that, so that we can step forward as a new mom, as a new woman, empowered by what happened, and encouraged and honored that they just went through that, and kind of reclaiming the energy. So yeah, I learned about this at a school I did in LA called the Artemis School. It's no longer really going, unfortunately, but they have some online classes. But I did it when I think my daughter was 7, I want to say. And I just had this like aha clicking in my body and my spirit of like, oh, I needed that. I didn't get that right after I gave birth. But like 7 years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just realized like I was reborn too. And I had it in my body because I actually felt the scarves kind of pulling and making me like feel like I was stuck in this like cocoon, and then opened and released. And I just felt like this is me now. And I really could claim it in a way that felt mentally and spiritually and physically right and needed. And I do offer that to some postpartum clients.
Hey, Tawny, I'm so sorry. I cut the conversation short last time we spoke, and this I had some people making noise and I couldn't hear you the last time we spoke. So this is the exciting conclusion to our talk.
Too.
As we wrap up, I wanted to say, I like to ask my guests if you have any final bits of advice on how to be kind and bring kindness into the world, or if there is anything that your intuition was telling you wanted to share with listeners today.
I would love to share just a bit of encouragement and challenge the listeners to find a supportive group that can support them, whether that be a women's circle, men's circle, any kind of circle or supportive group that brings that village together, that I think and feel deep in my bones is so needed and important to be together as humans and help each other out. And I think kindness just is almost like a byproduct of that coming together in a vulnerable, honest way, being real as a human. I think we just then want to be kind and care for others just from naturally, being real with each other. It's definitely been life-changing for me to get together in a meaningful way with other humans live, in this world of so much digital presence, which can be, so wonderful, like this podcast and so many other ways that we learn online and connect online. And let's not forget to, come together and really get that physical presence and support. So I guess I would just say, find your circle, find your tribe, and, prioritize it and allow for opportunities to get together in person that are meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah, I would add to that, if you have recently, had a breakup or parted ways with some friends, don't lose heart. Like, it's hard, but go out and find some people. There's plenty of people around you. And if anyone listening to this knows of a men's circle around, please let me know. I feel like I've gotten so much out of the women's circles that I've been invited to. And I just have come into a room full of strangers and end up falling in love with all of the people I'm in the room with. I'm like, oh, how did that happen?
I feel you, sister. Yeah. There is a men's group here in San Luis Obispo. My husband was in it for a while, and it's still going. That was like before we met. So it was before, like 15 years ago, he was doing it. I think kind of got it started with another friend of his, but it's going on Tuesday nights, and it's called the Mankind Project. And it's actually, I think, worldwide, but definitely nationwide. And it's a men's group that circles. There's, I think, even an equivalent for women called Woman Within or Women Project. I don't know. But there seems to be a bit more of like women's circles in general. So the men's ones are a little more, harder to find, but Mankind Project is a great one. And and I'm circling somewhat in slow, but my husband is just starting a tour of his new book. It's a yoga book that we both teach yoga together. And so I'm kind of pausing doing most of my circles right now so I can, get food on the table and be kind of the single parent while he really goes out and travels and explores offering this book to the world. So otherwise I would say, come circle with me, but I'm not hosting that many. But the ones I am offering and retreats I'm offering, you can find at tawnysterios.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Tawny Sterios, and offer, my local events here in California, but also in India and Big Sur and some other fun places that whatever creates opportunities for me. So I hope to stay in touch with any of you and all of you and reach out and circle up.
Yay, good for you for supporting Peter so well. I got the news about his book, and I saw he has a little celebration coming up in town, and then he's got a tour. So I've read incredible reviews about his book. So I'm going to put a link to his book info in this podcast episode. And who knows, by the time I get this out to the people, maybe it'll be the new year and you'll be back in your circling game. But I will totally link up to Tawny and Peter's info. And thanks so much for taking the time to share with us.
Well, thank you. Just want to say, wow, for you and what you're creating to spread kindness and love to our community and beyond. And thanks for taking the time out of your busy mama life and working life to, add a little piece of love to the world. So thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Claire, have a good night.
I look forward to the next time I see you.
All right, same.
Bye, Tawny.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi guys, thanks so much for listening. So if you enjoyed the episode and want more behind the scenes from our talk, more information about kindness in general, and tips coming your way each week about things that are going on in our community, things that will improve your life on all fronts, please subscribe to the Claire Kindness newsletter. You can sign up at www.clairekindness.com, and I so look forward to seeing you on the internet. Okay, have a great day.